Damaso Rodriguez Martin grew up poor in the Canary Islands, but his parents tried to steer him in the right direction. He got into some trouble with the law as a teenager, but after joining and graduating from the Spanish Legion, he settled down in Tenerife, getting married and fathering 2 children. At face value, this seemed like the story of a normal guy, but outside of his daily life, Damaso would roam the mountains, becoming extremely familiar with the terrain. He also liked to spy on couples having sex, so when he spotted a young pair doing the deed in their Mazda, he decided that he wanted to join. Damaso walked up to the car, pulled out his gun, and fired multiple shots at the man's head. He then entered the car and raped the woman while her boyfriend bled to death right next to them. He then drove to a random area, abandoning both victims. The woman didn't know how to drive, but she was able to navigate her way to a police station. The authorities asked around for a night stalker that knew the mountains, and when all evidence pointed to Damaso, the man they called El Brujo, or Warlock in Spanish. He was eventually caught and sentenced to 55 years. Thankfully, this psychopath was behind bars and no longer a threat to the community. But then, he escaped. Welcome to history's biggest villains. Damaso was born in Los Batanhas, a small village in the western flank of the Agana Massif, on December 11, 1944. His parents were Martin Rodriguez Severio and Celesta Martin Perdomo, while he had one brother and 3 sisters. The family were very poor and they lived off the land. Even though Martin and Celestina took their children to work with them on the crops, they also made sure they went to school and got their basic education. From an early age, Damaso enjoyed exploring the Yanaga Massif in his spare time and was said to know almost every hidden corner of the mountains, down to every cave. His first clashes with the law began in his teenage years, as he got into numerous fights and began burglarizing homes. In January 1962, age 17 and already well known by the local police, he was sentenced to a 1.5 years prison for car theft. Damaso was released in September 1963 and was called to perform mandatory military service. This would become a pivotal point in his life, as he found enjoyment with the army lifestyle, as once he completed his military service, he joined the Spanish Legion. He completed his training and was sent to serve in the Western Sahara. The area, still then a Spanish colony, had been the site of a war between Spain and Morocco in the late 1950s. It's worth noting that the training at the Legion back in those days was grueling and even potentially fatal, with live ammo exercises, weeding out those who would freeze during combat. In 1966, Damaso, now a 23-year-old corporal in the Legion, was sent to Sidi Ifni, Morocco. The Ifni War was underway, and the situation was of tension and danger for Spanish legionnaires like Damaso. The war was long over, but the international community was pressing Spain to relinquish the territory, which emboldened Moroccan forces to go on the offensive. Despite these circumstances, Damaso proved to work well under the pressure, and that year he was promoted to first corporal. It's not clear why, but just a year later, Damaso quit his military career and returned to his birthplace, the Yanaga Mountains. He married his wife Mercedes that same year, and the young couple moved to a small house in El Paladero, a remote area that wasn't accessible via paved roads. Damaso and Mercedes would welcome 2 daughters in 1973 and 1975. He held several jobs during the 70s, but most notably as a goat shepherd and a coal merchant. Around this time, he also trained and competed in lucha canaria, or Canarian wrestling. Although he was competent and became one of the best wrestlers on his team, Damaso's sports career was unremarkable. He kept himself mostly out of trouble during the 70s. However, Mercedes would reveal after his death that all these years with him were marked with his frequent beatings and his addiction to hard drugs. He would also rape her often, although the Spanish criminal law at the time didn't recognize marital rape. According to Mercedes, the beatings and the rapes would ramp up around Christmas. There's no information on the treatment of his daughters, but it's known that when they became teenagers, both girls were terrified of their father. Now in his 30s, Damaso continued his habit of wandering into the wilderness and was known to disappear for hours. This quality, along with his hard-angled eyebrows, granted him the nickname of El Brujo, or the Warlock. Damaso retained his reputation as a hard-working neighbor, but by then he was also known for his antisocial personality, and many locals were afraid of him. He was also a voyeur that would masturbate while spying on the young couples at the Lovers' Lanes in El Maquinal and the surrounding areas at night. In 1977, he was accused of the alleged rape of a mentally disabled woman, but it seems like this complaint didn't go to court. In February 1981, Damaso lost his job. According to Mercedes, he spent entire nights wandering around the forest. On the night of November 7, 1981, at around 9:30 p.m., 24-year-old Baldomero Rodriguez Suarez and his 19-year-old girlfriend Maria de los Angeles Adesmareas were spotted at a gravel patch next to the shoulder of the road that goes to El Maquinal. Damaso, who had gone out that night to watch couples, noticed the Mazda 323 and approached it from the right side before hiding in the thick vegetation. He was carrying a 9mm Astra pistol, loaded with 3 bullets. The couple were having sex on the passenger seat. Baldomero was lying on top of Maria, and thus his upper body was visible through the car's window. At some point, Maria thought she had noticed something outside the car, but couldn't tell what it was. She shared her concerns with her boyfriend when Damaso fired a shot and Damaso's back right window blew up in pieces. The bullet hit Baldomero on his shoulder. He quickly rolled over onto the driver's seat and tried to start the engine, but before he could do it, Damaso fired 2 more shots. This time, the bullets hit his torso from one side through his arm, puncturing both his lungs and his heart. Baldomero lost consciousness while sitting behind the wheel, and he bled to death in a matter of minutes, with his girlfriend, up to this point, still uninjured, sitting next to him. Seconds later, Maria saw Damaso approaching from the passenger side. He stuck his hand inside the back right window, grabbed Maria by her hair, and dragged her out of the car. She was dragged this way for about 20 meters west down the road. Damaso took Maria a few meters into the bushes and raped her twice. While the attack was happening, Maria fought for her life. First, she scratched his forearms deeply, and later she grabbed a fist-sized rock, repeatedly hitting him over the head with it as he raped her. During the assault, Damaso told her multiple times that she was really pretty and that he thought he knew her from La Laguna. He also threatened her by yelling, "Stay put, or I'll kill you." When Maria wept over Bartomero's demise, Damaso coldly told her, "Stop worrying about him. He's dead." Damn. After the second assault, Damaso forced Maria back into the back seat of the Mazda, shoving Bartomero's dead body inside onto the passenger seat, then driving for a couple of kilometers until reaching the starting point of the Lana de los Viejos hiking trail. He stopped the car, stripped Bartomero's body of his sweater and pants, and demanded Maria to give him all the money they had left in their car, which amounted to 16,000 pesetas. After that, Damaso disappeared back into the woods, leaving the terrified and injured Maria in the car next to her boyfriend's body, on a remote mountain road in the middle of the night. After a while, Maria, who didn't have a driver's license, sat behind the wheel and managed to drive the car with her boyfriend's body in it all the way to the nearest village, where she found help. The following morning, police officers from La Laguna questioned dozens of people that lived in the area. They only asked whether they knew of a violent man that was known to spy on couples. Almost immediately, those questioned brought up El Brujo, Damaso Rodriguez. Shortly after, at the police station in La Laguna, Maria was shown a book with the pictures of the precinct's usual suspects, and she recognized her rapist as soon as she saw Damaso's mugshot between the pages. Her official statement lasted 5 hours. Less than 72 hours later, 2 police officers arrested Damaso at his home. The arrest was done at 4 a.m. while he was sleeping, due to the threat officers knew he could pose if he was alert. The 9mm handgun was found in a cave not far from his house, although an officer had to rappel 200 feet down a very deep slope to reach it. The bullets that hit Bartomero were later proven to be fired from that same pistol, and the shells were found right at the scene of the rape. Damaso had stolen the gun from a sergeant of the Spanish army, as the sergeant had kept the gun in his glove box, and all Damaso had to do was to sneak into his unlocked car and retrieve it. Damaso's fingerprints were found all over the interior of the Mazda. The officers also saw numerous fresh scratches all over his forearms that he couldn't explain. Although at first he denied the accusations, Damaso confessed to the crime just a few hours later. He was jailed awaiting trial with murder and rape charges. Just a few days later, it was surfaced that Damaso and Maria were actually distant cousins. There will actually be a second part to this video, so part 2 of this story will come out either Monday or Tuesday. Thank you. Please be safe. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. I'm out. Peace.